Hello, everyone, and welcome to Office Leadership Series. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to discuss the impact of design and technology innovations on the workplace of the future. The CRE industry globally is at the cusp of a design and technology driven revolution. In the face of current challenges, what is it that can make organizations stay relevant, sustainable, agile, and in sync with the demands of the new reality? Design and tech are definitely the most prominent driving forces that are reshaping the face of the modern workplace. Today's webinar will be moderated by Mr. Amit Ramani, founder and CEO of Awfis. He's also the vice chairman and strategic advisor of Ncube India, which is a leading group providing design and real estate consulting services in Asia. Amit comes with a strong background in architecture and design that has enabled him to provide innovative and complex project services to multinational corporations. So without any further delay, let me begin by introducing our panelists for the session. It is my absolute honor to introduce Ms. Anupama Sharma, Managing Director, Gensler India. Anupama comes with over 25 years experience managing and spearheading projects across India and US. She is a strategic leader with a passion for design and innovative sustainable technologies. She has worked with clients on a range of complex projects. Welcome to the panel, Anupama. We are thrilled to have you here. Next, we have Ms. Jagvinder Pinny Mann, Senior Portfolio Manager, Microsoft India, another highly respected leader. Jagvinder brings with her an in-depth knowledge of corporate real estate in leasing, negotiations, and portfolio asset management. She has the ability to develop and execute strategic initiatives that drive value to real estate portfolio and enable prioritization of key projects and capital investments. She's also heavily involved in diversity and inclusion and environment and sustainability projects. A very warm welcome to the panel, Penny. We're excited to hear from you. Now, coming to our next panelist, Mr. Dinesh Malkani, founder and CEO of Smart and Spaces. Dinesh has spent the last 25 plus years in the tech industry, holding leadership positions with Cisco, AT&T, Lucent Technologies, Avaya, and he was the CEO for Cisco India and SAC, MD for Cisco APAC, CEO for Avaya Korea and Avaya China. He is a member of the Forbes Technology Council and chairman of the SaaS Council for CII. What an extensive leadership experience. Welcome on board, Dinesh. Look forward to your valuable insights on the topic. Last but not the least, we have Mr. Anurag Mathur, CEO Savills India. Anurag is responsible for the establishment, expansion, and operations of the Savills business in India. He's also a member of the Savills Asia Executive Board and RSES Global Management Board. Prior to joining Savills, Anurag served as an international director at JLL India for 6 years and with Cushman and Wakefield India for 14 years, where he was the founding member of the company in India. Welcome to the panel, Anurag. We're excited to have you here and look forward to hearing your views. Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Sumit, for the introductions. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to this panel discussion. As I see it, we are in the midst of a workplace renaissance. The office paradigm was undergoing a slow yet steady transformation for years, primarily driven by convergence of design and technology. But in the last 7 months, we have collectively pushed the right buttons to accelerate the progress exponentially. We are right now sitting at the cusp of economic, demographic, and cultural revolution driven by smart design and technology disruptions. We have to rethink everything now, creating experiences that provide the rationale for workplace that replaces functional activities with qualitative, interactive, multi-sensory experiences that put collaboration and culture at the center of it all. I'm excited to be moderating a very accomplished panel today to discuss key design and tech trends. So let me begin with the first section. What are some of the critical design and technological innovations being undertaken right now? I believe this is a watershed moment in the CRE industry in terms of way the entire concept of office space is getting reshaped. For years, office was synonymous with work, but now organizations and workforce have realized that work can be done from anywhere. So the location paradigm has now changed to location, choice, and time. The challenge now for the companies is to draw the workforce back to an office environment that can constantly amaze, connect, and inspire in a way that can offset the time and effort that goes into commuting. Dinesh, let me start with you. At Smart Spaces, you offer cutting-edge technology to enable desk management, space management, among many other things to corporates. Post the pandemic, there is an urgency in using technology to bring about sense of safety and wellness in the workplace. Which are the top tech innovations that you are seeing being adopted by the companies, and how are you utilizing those for your clients?
Thanks, Amit, and thanks for this opportunity. I think there are three things that are happening, right? The first is absolutely agree with you. As people start to come back, even if it is 3%, 5%, who really cares? You can't have you can't leave any stone unturned. And so people are looking at the employee experience and saying, even before they come to work, we must pre-screen, we must have processes in place around when they do come back to work. And I think, I mean, that's the first set of technologies that are being used around just safety, and the whole process of bringing them back. The second set of technologies is really around desk management, right? Because if you kind of look around, because of social distancing, half the desks are gone. So you've lost your seat. Now you're working in a flexible model. How do you know where to sit? How do you know when to come back to work? How do you know that on a particular day, 80% of the people won't show up, right? So you have to use technology to put all the right processes in place. And I think the third most important thing is where the market is moving towards and where technology plays a role. So there was a time when 100% of your space was only used 60 to 70% of the time, right? And that's what we saw before the pandemic. Post pandemic, everybody wants to move to a highly optimized space where it's 70% of your space, but it's being used 100% of the time. That's where technology plays a role. But these are the three common themes and factors that we are seeing, depending on how quickly the market is opening, depending on number of cases. And in major cities, cost is going to be a huge factor moving forward.
Great. Thank you, Dinesh, for that. Anupama, so you lead Gensler, which is one of the top design and architecture firms globally. In this time of transformation, what, according to you, are the key trends that are merging design and technology to completely reshape the modern day workplace?
Yeah, Amit, as we all know, an important question that faces the real estate industry today is really what is the future of the workplace going to be? And what are we seeing as significant trends within the industry? So for the first time, perhaps, I think what we're seeing is that the notions of work and place are being consciously decoupled. So they're not really linked anymore, as you pointed out. It's become more about work, choice, and time versus, work being at a particular location. And workspaces historically have rarely been optimized for cost or well-being or employee experience, productive working, or environmental impact. Not enough thought was really given to the workspace prior to this pandemic. In the current scenario, however, what we are all, where we are all being bombarded by the pandemic and the various outfalls from it, health considerations and employee well-being are looking to drive the way in which a return to office is likely to take place. Right, so it's really now technology and wellness which are becoming the key drivers of change in asset management. So there are two clear impact areas that emerge from this, clearly employee wellness and safety and flexi working, right? Where the workplace, is now going to look to be optimized to allow for a workforce that is highly agile. And the question really will then be how to balance density and space utilization goals with physical distancing needs in place, as safety protocols of physical distancing could cause more demand for personal space at the office. So this is, these are some of the trends that we are starting to see that are going to sort of impact the modern day workplace going forward.
And Mama, any difference in how people in the US or global markets are approaching the workplace design solution versus India? Any key differences you are seeing, or it's probably too early to tell?
I think it is too early to tell, but I do see that we are all speaking a sort of a universal language. Everyone is talking about a hybrid work culture, flexi working, things like that, flexibility in the workspace, and agility, which was not there earlier, heavy reliance on technology, some of the things that Dinesh was just pointing out, So yeah, so I see we're all speaking a universal language. Maybe it's because we are talking a lot to each other within Gensler. Maybe we're all speaking the same language within Gensler. But I do feel that we are sort of on the same platform in terms of India or the US. I think the only difference in India is, of course, that we have tremendous densities in a place like India, we do need to address that differently, slightly differently.
Sure, great. Thank you, Anupama. Penny, you've been associated with Microsoft for a really long time now, and I've witnessed technology integrations and evolution of design, modifying office space environments from a really close and right. According to you, what are the critical design and technology implementations that are vital for the workplace of 2021?
Thank you, Amit. So I think that I'll lean on to Anupama saying it's too early, because I think too radical a decision at this point may not be the right way to move forward. Our spaces in Microsoft are pretty well designed. We have specific guidelines. And when I sort of went back into my guideline diktat, we are pretty good with the social distancing and having, health and wellness in place earlier too. The challenge now is going to be how do we maintain that, and how do we get the confidence of the employees? Build that into them, because everyone's looking for this radical change to happen. And what is that? Nobody knows. So just moving desks out or saying you could have flexible work hours may not be the right approach. So I think that's where the technology and how we use our data that we, with the IoT devices and checking on how people are working, who really wants to come back to work, map that onto our, strategy, and then see, do we really need all that space in a particular manner that it's set? So I'll top it with an example. Say it's a sales unit. Now, do they need to come to work into the office space every day, or do they want to invite their customer and we need to customize that space for that purpose, rather than having the seats and having a different model, which we were doing earlier as closed meeting rooms? Do we want to open out our meeting rooms? Do we want to create a culture of where your customer partners can walk in and have that openness in a space? So I think another 6 months, we will be, diving deep into it and really defining how the spaces would be. At the moment, I think it's quite fluid, and we would stay that way. And a question that keeps coming up, are we going to really get away from real estate? Well, we are a technology company. Yes, we could do that because we are highly productive. Actually, we are more productive than we were in the office. That's what the data is telling us today. But is that really true from a comfort and for the employee? So I think there are lots of question marks as yet. Let's wait. And I think we will take some time to take a final call on how we want to look at it. But yes, everyone's thinking about it.
Well, Penny, I hope for all our sake, at least the panelists and me personally, that real estate continues because we are heavily invested in that space. So Anurag, obviously, Savills has been closely following the impact of the COVID-19 and the evolution of the workplace strategy for CRE stakeholders since the start of this pandemic. What is your take on the critical innovations that have taken place in the last 7 months in the office spaces globally?
Look, Amit, I extend what Penny said. Essentially, I think for the most part, we're still in the middle of this crisis that's going on. So to be able to have profound trends or solutions being cemented at this point, I think is far-fetched, and I would not want to risk that. How this pans out, look, what's very clear is when this dust settles, when hopefully when the pandemic goes away, it would have changed our lives, our society, our countries, populations, governments, everything in a major way. We will see a lot of changes come out at that point. What will the medical intervention solution look like at that time? What will the laws change? How will they change to reflect this prevailing situation, etc.? We don't know at this point. So clearly, we're not in a position to make strong statements about what is going to happen. However, what has happened in the last several months, 8 months or so, that the onset of this is a lot of uh, I think for the most part, there are short-term solutions that have happened. People have obviously, it's no secret anymore. People have gone from work from home. Technology has played a great role, enabler in that. People have shown great resilience in working remotely. Technology has, fortunately, for the most part, even in our smaller cities, technology has withstood this test, and things have worked out well. In the long term, once again, I think there will be going to be several factors which will play. Quite clearly, technology will play a major role. And when we say technology, I just do not mean information technology. I think technology at several levels will play a role in how offices work will happen. For example, offices for a very long time have been treated as just a large congregation of workers, of white-collared workers. I think that has to change. The importance of the individual is going to become more important. The EHS, health, environment, safety of people inside their workspaces, for example, indoor air quality. Those things are going to become more important. How do people commute? How long do they commute? Those things will come into play. How are offices constructed? I think that has largely not, no one's spoken too much about it. I think that's going to change. Can we continue to have construction sites where you have 200 people working in an environment doing fit outs? I don't think that's sustainable. Should not be a norm going forward. In India, we have traded that for economies. So choice of materials, you need to have surfaces and materials which not only are hygienic, they need to appear to be hygienic for people to have confidence in their workplace and stuff like that. So I think there will be profound changes. Environment is going to play a big role. I mean, we've known a lot of work that has gone into sustainability environment has had to backtrack during this pandemic. The amount of plastic that's gone into use, paper that's gone into use, disposables, etc. What does it mean for sustainable businesses going forward? What about public health? I think public health laws and standards will go through a change, etc. So again, I mean, I think to in a sense of a summary, I think we are still not out of this tornado. And only when we come out and we look back and we figure out the future in a larger sense, will these things start to come out? And that's exactly what we're seeing with clients. I mean, we still have clients who are putting in capital to build new offices, committing to expansion and so on and so forth, because the business fundamentals are still there. They're very fairly strong. However, what I am seeing is sensible corporations are saying, look, we don't want to make uh, decisions which are long term in nature, but may not be sustainable in the long term. So I think there are short term measures that are being implemented at this point. And I think we all are going to be very busy for the next few years uh, defining how our workplace and physical spaces, etc., change and respond to the emerging environment.
Great, thanks, Anurag. So obviously we all talk about the real estate aspect of it, but the ultimate reason we do it is because of the workforce. So what are some of the challenges? Moving on to the second section, while Zoom was replaced by Uber, Zoom has replaced Uber. The new workplace will also bring additional scrutiny from all stakeholders, right? The realization is coming to work as more conscious decision will shift workplace design and technology to become more purposeful and strategic, which I think everybody is saying here. Employees will expect that their work environments are safe and healthy when they return to office. Hospital grade hygiene will no longer be optional for offices, while office tech will bear an additional burden of providing the next level of convenience and collaboration, which is not possible at home, right? So these are some things that we clearly see are early trends that we are seeing. So Anupama, prior to COVID, we all talked about accommodating a multi-generational workforce in our workplace, right? In this post-COVID era, while we are still trying to find the ultimate shape of the new workplace, any sense from your end on how the design of the workplace will work with generational challenges as well as distributed workforce to be accommodated in the new workplace?
So, yeah, Amit, we are seeing 3 to 4 major trends in the market today. So, first is the modified repurposing of the workplace. So, we feel workplace is here to stay, right? So, there's no question on that. So, while workplace is here to stay, the purpose of the workplace is likely to change, right? And this is pointing to what Anurag was also saying. We are seeing an expanded ecosystem of the work environment today. People are working not just from home, but from other locations as well. And due to investments made in technology and virtual working, there's a newfound mobility, right, which has definitely impacted the workplace. So the shift is more towards a hybrid work culture. And that is the first major trend that we have seen. The second major trend that we are seeing is that in order to maintain balance between working, creating a sense of community, and aligning to the values and of the company, the workplace really needs to shift focus to begin to engage, co-create, and to generate face-to-face interaction. And this, I think, ties in very well with what Anurag was just saying, that there needs to be a shift from focus work in the workplace to other things as well, like collaboration, social interaction, mentoring, career development, and things like that, for instance. So we see that there's a shift from hardcore work culture in the workplace to other types of support functions also that now need to be weaved in very significantly. And the third shift we have seen in recent months is, which is also an outfall of the global pandemic and the work from home culture, is the shift in the work pattern and the significantly increased and extended work routines, right? So, for instance, instead of the typical 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Work routine, we are seeing um, a significantly increased workday that is now going anything from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. or even beyond that. And during the day, there's several crests and troughs as one is balancing home routines with a more demanding workday routine as well. So in a hybrid work culture, we feel that these patterns are likely to continue into the future as well. And lastly, and we've all talked about this, we're seeing significant investment in technology. So companies are, doing both front-end investments in technology to help people in their day-to-day working, which is enabling virtual working, working from home, making us more mobile, working from wherever, we choose to. So adding that element of flexibility, as well as back-end investments, which is pertaining more to health and wellness and productivity of the workforce. So these are some significant trends that we are seeing.
Great. Thanks, Anupama. So Penny, with employees obviously heavily dependent on technology and mostly working from home, how are you ensuring privacy and protection of data? Part one of the question. And then what are some of the major challenges that the company is facing in deciding their workplace strategy for the future?
So Amit, for the privacy of the data, well, I think Microsoft's pretty well known. We have a really high, in fact, let me share something. I got a mail from somebody and it was really an important mail and I can't read it because I'm at home and I'm wondering what happened. And I call my IT guy and he says, well, the firewall's not going to permit that mail. I don't know from who it is. So I think Microsoft's done an incredible job of ensuring that privacy, data, confidentiality it's always been a leader. And I think that continued. Yes, there was a lot of investment by the company because when you start working from home, especially from our developers and engineering groups who never worked from home and they had to move home, So it was a big investment, but the company took care of it. And to take your second part of the question, Well, the question somebody asked me the other day, why would I come to office? Penny, tell me, what's it that I need to come to office for? And quite a pertinent question. Why would you really? Because I'm highly productive. I've done my great job from home. So why do I need to come to office? So those are the kind of questions we all have to start thinking about. And do you know, my answer to that is, well, there's an emotional human connect, and we are creatures as human beings of being connected face to face. There's a level of comfort. We are not people who don't want to see each other. Collaborative work, data proves that collaborative work is more successful and you get better results than an individual, unless, of course, he's a genius or it's an Einstein working by himself. But do you know, these are some of the things we'll have to look at when we are looking at our spaces and how we're encouraging people to come back. What is there for them to come to the work? How their wellness and health is taken care of, which is of, I'm sure 90% of us Indians never had a medical checkup every year. And it's going to start happening because people are becoming so conscious of their health now. And the expectation is leaning towards the organization to take care of that. So the food, the air qualities, the environment in the office is all going to become into a very tight circle where we all will have to tread and ensure that each of those components are really met with 100% efficiency. And people will come to office. I'm sure they will. It's not that they're not going to come, but it's a safe haven that we have to create before we think that they'll all be back.
Great. Thanks, Pinny. So Anurag, obviously, with the hybrid workplace model and the distributed workspaces being the latest trend, we are all hearing about it. Anupama talked about it earlier as well. Are companies proactively adopting design and tech disruptions, focusing on obviously employee safety, convenience? Are these trends, are you starting to see with the occupiers when they're looking for spaces as they're trying to develop their plans for 2021? Are they looking at some of these trends to be incorporated in their leasing strategies?
Yes, Amit. So this is one thing, one trend, which is, I wouldn't still say that it's become a big trend, but it's solidifying fast. I think what corporations are realizing that at this point, people don't need to come to work, which is fine, but there will come a time when that's going to be the normal once again, or the business imperative, or whatever it is. So that's going to happen, and that has to be addressed suitably. Uh, in large cities, particularly, that trend has already been set in motion by a very small bunch of occupiers, but that's happening. We are, as a matter of fact, as we speak, we are solutioning for some major corporations this model, which is where you stop building these mega offices, one mega office in particular city, which happens to be economical and administratively easier and cheaper and whatever it is. But I don't think that's a sustainable thing. People in big cities, as you know, in Bangalore, in Delhi, NCR, in Mumbai, are traveling 1.5, 2 hours in very often in cabs and stuff like that, which is not healthy. It's not going to happen. So the whole option or the solution of distributed offices. Look, on one extreme is the work from home. The other end of the spectrum is the large 300,000 square feet office. I'm just giving you a number, throwing a number. I think people are realizing both ends are not going to be sustainable. You'll have to create solutions in the middle, which meet halfway. So you will have offices which are smaller and they get closer to where people live, and they are more incentivized to come to office, and they feel safer, secure, more productive coming to office. And the corporations or the employer find sustainable solutions in terms of security, in terms of productivity, etc., in getting those people to offices. One more thing I want to place out there for you, Amit, is the centrality of the importance of workplace. Very often over the last 8 months, People have made statements, and some very eminent people have made statements saying we don't need offices anymore. We can all work from home. I don't know. Look, I'm limited by what I know and my profession, but I do know, and I've seen this industry transform over the last 25, 30 years. Workplace has now moved up the ladder for in the importance of corporations by several notches. What used to be a much low down function requirement is now has been over the last several years been on the top of the agenda. This is how this look the whole war for talent. It's important to have the best people come to you. Microsoft is one of the leading examples of how they've done it. They've created really best-in-class offices, and best-in-class just doesn't mean glamorous offices, expensive offices. These are very nice offices where you feel proud of going to. You feel safe, you feel productive, you feel energized going to those offices. So the importance of having an office as an attractive, let's say, tool in the bouquet that you have to attract top talent is not going to go away. In fact, to my mind, it may just become more important. So you will see a lot of change happen in that space. The hub and spoke model in the decentralized office, I think that's one of the trends that clearly is beginning to happen.
Great. Thanks, Anurag. So Dinesh, in your view, technology has played the role of a simplifier at the workplace, or does it run the risk of making things more complicated? It would be great to share some examples of both simplifications and complications that technology has driven in the workplace.
Thanks, Amit. Yeah, and yeah, right. Sometimes these things can get very, very complicated, right? But I think one good thing that happened was that the whole ecosystem of technology providers, right, are starting to interconnect with each other more seamlessly than we ever did, right? Because we do realize that for any provider of technology in this space, what we thought would take 10 years to happen is going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months, right? I mean, sitting here in Singapore and my team in India, we've done 13 countries, almost 43 cities around the world. We've done deployments for back to work and helping companies shift to the hybrid workplace, and all in a span of 3 to 4 months. And the whole reason has been because technology has matured, right? And so I'll give you one example, right? There was a time when you want to know what is happening in your spaces. You had to put in sensors, you had to put in all kinds of devices, and then you got data, you got analytics. All that has shifted heavily to AI because you can't go through so much analytics and make intelligent decisions. But with AI, it gives you recommendations. It gives you the right, are you sort of do you have too much space? Do you have too little space? What's your safety index? Is your air quality better than everybody else? You obviously want to make sure the air quality you have at home, you feel very safe at home. When you go to work, you should have the same experience, right? And so I think AI has played a huge role. The second has been the coming together of many tech companies, right? So there was a time when everything was in a bit of a silo, right? When you came in, you had to badge in, and that was one system. And then you had to go find a seat, and that was another system. And then you invited a visitor, that was another system. I think today it's all one single platform because, as you know, in a hybrid workplace, the experience of the employee becomes important. There's a very large, there are actually very large banks here in Singapore who have taken the hybrid workplace environment since the country is open, and where they said that, look, first let's figure out who goes when. It's not an easy problem to solve. When you have 30,000 people and you have teams and you have limited space because of social distancing, you have to let technology make that decision for you. And it has to be in a very seamless, easy manner. I, as an employee, should not have to call up people or WhatsApp and say, is it my day today or is it my day on Wednesday? So I think tech has played a role there to make it easy, right? So that we get a message and we know what we need to do. I think the second thing has been, just around, somebody talked about isolation, and you're right. We all work from home. We work alone. Now, when you go to work, imagine your experience if you don't know anybody around you. The colleagues that you used to sit with, the department you work with is not showing up on that day or is not sitting in the area where you're sitting. Because many offices large have like multiple floors, multiple buildings. So how does technology play the role of making sure that when these decisions happen, people actually come together? When you put technology like that, when you think through of it at every step, you leverage on the capability of AI, you leverage on the capability of IoT, that's when you deliver a true hybrid workplace. Otherwise, it will become a nightmare, Amit, for people to be navigating through many different apps, many different systems, scan in QR codes and do all those different things, right? It can be tough. I must admit, the other day I went to office and I had my mask on, and this particular office, we had to badge in basically using the phone. What I didn't realize is that for that application to work, it does facial recognition, right? And it did not recognize. So I had to take my mask off, put my bag down, get the app to open, and then put it on. Intent is nice, but the deployment was very complex. So a lot of learnings are also happening, how to make it very smooth, very seamless, and deliver the best employee experience. So those are some of the observations we've had, Amit. But I think the market is moving to a simple model. Keep it straightforward, and everything should be on one single simple solution, so that it's all well sort of thought of.
Absolutely, Dinesh. I mean, working from home, using the different platforms, it's becoming a bit of a nightmare, even with Zoom, Cisco, all these other platforms. So I can totally understand when we come back to the physicality of it, and there are five different apps and five different things people have to navigate, it will become a challenge. So moving on to the last section, uh, what does the workplace of the future look like, right? I think all of us are kind of saying that, it's a bit early. I heard, a couple of panelists say that it'll be 6 or 8 months away. But I think clearly for the COVID workplace, building performance will not be measured by the old space efficiency and the intensification of metrics by new standards of occupier, comfort, safety. Large occupiers around the world are quickly adapting to strategies to address this, right? I just recently read that PwC is testing a mobile app in their Shanghai office that uses GPS signals to geolocate employees. Dinesh was just talking about that, right? If an employee later tests positive for corona, the company's HR department can figure out, where that person was and who they came in touch with, right? So Pinny, starting with you, I know obviously you're saying it's too early, but I'm sure, right? As real estate, we are always a bit have to be a bit ahead of the curve, right? Even when we are building physical workspaces or when we are planning to bring people back, even if it's 6 months away, what are some of the technology and the design changes you anticipate that you will adopt in the workspace? You might not have done it already. And then how do you anticipate to change management, the workspace, workforce into the new workspace?
So Amit, I think part of it I already answered, but I will take it from there. And I think when we were just having a casual conversation before we started the discussion was to give you the answer to your question, that is our officers going to stay? Well, I think they will stay. At least in our country, they will stay. People will want to come back, but their demands will be different. They will be looking out for different things. So I'll give it to you in an example. Earlier, a Microsoft employee came and they looked at, what technology are we using? Oh, they took it for granted. It's there. There was no question on how it's going to be. Now the question is, how is my day going to look? So am I informed on exactly what Dinesh was saying, that how does the day of an employee look? The person already gets a message, your car is there. You're not going to be sharing cabs now. You're not going to go into those shuttles anymore because of the social distancing and the consciousness that has been brought upon us as being wellness. And we all will become, I think, overly conscious, of that fact. So I don't want to share my car with anybody. I get that message. The car is sanitized. I'm not touching anything in the car, a touchless experience. I get to my workplace. My technology on my phone should be able to guide me to my desk. What is the desk that I'm going to use? or if I have a meeting, which is the meeting room that I need to go to, and I don't want to touch anything on the path to that meeting room. I want a talking coffee machine. I want to order my coffee and it should pour it out onto my cup. So I think technology is going to go places. It's really going to be very creative and innovative, and I think every organization is going to demand more and more. And especially in the tech world, I think because they think it's very simple, it can happen. And like Dinesh was saying, there are multiple platforms. I think the tech world is also coming together at the back end to avoid these multiple apps going out. And why don't we have a seamless experience? Can I order my lunch well in time and choose that I want to eat this and that's ready for me, so I don't have to queue up or I don't have to stand anywhere for my food? What I had this question and it's real time. Somebody told me, so what are you doing for the cafeteria, Penny? How are you managing the food that's getting cooked? How do we know where it's getting sourced from? Are we conscious what water was used for the growing of that certain vegetable? That's the level where people are going to be asking us questions. Where am I sourcing my food from? And then you club in the DNI to it, that are we conscious of our communities and our environments and who's getting involved in it? So it's really complex, interesting, I think, a real way forward. I would say it, but if you look at it, actually, we are going back 50 years. We all ate organic. I didn't know anything beyond organic. What was artificially grown, we never knew. So the organic piece, the farmer, the farm to the table concept, how is the hygiene being met there? The server, is he tested? Does he have an app on his phone to show that he's negative? He's not a positive COVID case. Things like that will happen. And I think, the office environment has to be built in a way that it's really attractive. People want to come to work. It shouldn't be a mundane task, which used to be a 9 to 5 office. There should be excitement. There should be some areas where they can relax, different kind of things, which we've been doing so far. I think we'll enhance that now going forward, giving them the freedom of doing multiple things. Like I was asked a question, Pinny, do you think we'll be creating spas in our office? I said, no way, because I'm going to be very conscious of your sanitization there. But I think those are things that are going to be demanded very soon. If not in the next 2 years, maybe in another 4 or 5 years. So I think that's the future of our spaces, and technology is going to be at every doorstep. And how creative and how innovative can our tech world be? They'll be the winners, to be honest.
Great. So, Anupama, it's clear that from a design standpoint, one will need to look at a revolution, not just an adaptation, right? In this very evolving situation, what are the suggestions to ensure the sustainability and the long-term impact of design and tech changes that stay beyond, obviously, just the COVID period?
Yeah, so that's very correct. It's a correct statement, Amit. And I think I'm really going to be elaborating upon almost everything Penny touched upon. So I'm going to speak about it from an architect's standpoint. And I think almost everything she touched upon is what we see as the coming trend in the commercial real estate. So to begin with, I think the need of the hour is really to make resilient real estate decisions. And with flex working and remote working on the rise, we feel that now is the time to really leverage the gradual reoccupation of the office and to begin to measure our use of and need for actual space, right? We feel there is tremendous potential and need for repurposing the workspace, especially in India where densities are high to begin with. So without compromising on real estate economics, we feel that higher efficiencies are possible within the existing space paradigms. So really, taking a look at what we have as our real estate portfolios and how to really optimize them and transform them to make them far more meaningful and optimize the spaces that we have. And then we feel that the focus really needs to be on activity-based offices, offices that provide greater flexibility and a choice-based working environment. And I think Pinny was talking about that, with an accompanying flexible work culture. So I think we've all accepted pretty much on this panel, we've all talked about it, that yes, flexibility, agility, the hybrid work culture, all of this is here to stay for sure. And all of these concepts will have to be now imbibed into the workspace. So we think that this can be done by various different ways. One of the ways could be a mix, looking at a mix of owned core space, supplemented with flex spaces and flex work policies. Companies may need to start looking at flex workspaces and nodes in the city, for example, to augment, quick connects and remote meetings, for example. And one is also seeing an increased trend, increased investment in collab areas, community spaces and amenities, touchless technologies, and also virtualizing the entire workspace experience, right? So corporates are beginning to reconfigure working styles to optimize their efficiencies and to maintain efficiencies, and also to look at ways to attract the talent pool and to attract their staff back and the employees back to the office. So some of the new trends that we are seeing with clients rethinking with respect to the square meters and services that they're offering are, examples are added services, for example, around health and wellness, creating micro hubs, both within the campus and outside in the city, like I just mentioned, use of agile scrums for teamwork, for example, use of F&B as a social and cultural enabler. And this is what Penny was just talking about, integrating hoteling spaces within the workspace. So believe it or not, and she's right, and we feel the same, that employees are going to start demanding the spas and the hospitality sort of spaces within the workspace. And this will be, people will need this, to decompress, to relax, to recollect, to regroup, etc. So this will offer you the added sort of facet to your work life and to your work day. Creating segregatable neighborhoods within the workspace. And then, of course, we've all talked about it, integration of technology, which is already starting to become a major trend. And there's going to be recalibrating of staff journeys through the workspace, right? So the mobile phone will act as a digital concierge and a lifestyle companion. And this is what I think Dinesh was talking about, right, a little while ago. So there's going to be a rise in on-the-go space booking, right? And some panelists have also talked about this. So for example, booking car spaces through remotely, right? So you don't come to the office and now you're struggling to find a parking spot. Virtualizing the cafeteria services and amenities. And we talked about the talking coffee machine, somebody was talking about that. Booking of seats in conference rooms remotely, right? Enabling smaller group meetings, things like that. So overall, the focus is really going to be towards an augmented collaboration experience in the workspace. That's really what we're seeing as a major trend that is here to stay.
Great, Anupama. So Dinesh, what are some of the recent requirements that you've received from large occupiers that are looking to upgrade their workplaces to improve the resiliency and the agility?
So thank you, Penny. You gave a demo of our product, so I appreciate that. Because I think that's what people are looking for. People are looking for the ability to make it easy for the employee, right? So the first thing is you give them a digital mobile app. Anupama mentioned about you book your seat. You only come to work if you have a seat. Otherwise, don't show up, right? Because then there are occupancy limitations, right? So you book your seat. You get to see where your colleagues are, right? So you get to see where your colleagues are. So you sit together with them. You book a car park before you come. You ask the company to send you a cab, whatever. You look at the cafeteria, you look at meeting rooms, you drive it, and then obviously everybody's pre-screened. So you do your health declarations. We have worked with government to also look at how, Arogya Setu, and how do you, come to know whether a person's coming from a red zone or a green zone. So I think that's the first set of technologies that is being deployed. By the way, the adoption of this has been fairly universal. It's not different in any country. I think, Amit, you asked that question. It's been completely universal, right? It's just the speed of adoption is varying. I think it's a lot more faster in places like Singapore and Australia that are already back to work. I think India and the US are now starting to take steps in that direction. The second part of it is that people are saying that, okay, maybe in 6, 9 months, the focus will shift to space optimization. So whatever I'm deploying today, I have to make sure that I don't lose out on this. Oh, COVID's over and everybody, all 100% is back to work. That's not going to happen, right? I think they want to leverage on the hybrid working. So defining percentages, I think that's the second set of the technologies that we are seeing around space management, right? And this time, Amit, people are actually investing in sensors. They are putting in sensors to know and track the occupancy, look at contact tracing and things like that. But I would say these are the two major sets of technologies, the employee side as well as the operational efficiency. To me, even if you can get these two steps right, you're well on your way to creating the future workplace, which is good for the flexible worker. It's good for the organization because I still do believe cost will come down. And of course, it's good for co-working because, Amit, I'm not sure how it is in some of the cities there, but I can tell you that we're doing work with companies now that actually an employee gets up in the morning, takes out his mobile phone, they have choices of seats in co-working spaces and in their office locations because they don't want to travel 1.5 hours. Why don't I just go right here? I'm anyway used to remote working. I'm part of a team, but I want to get out of the office and go and work. So I think it's really the coming together of this, and tech is absolutely stitching it up, and it's stitching it up very, very nicely right now. Those are some of the deployments we've done on it.
No, that's great. That's great, Dinesh. So, Anurag, last question. From your vantage point, seeing some of the largest occupiers reacting to the pandemic and shifting their priorities, what are the key trends you have observed when it comes to occupiers reimagining their workplaces?
Again, Amit, there's some things which have been ongoing for the last few years, and there are others which are still in progress, and there are some yet more which will change. But I don't know if any of you have, and I'm sure you must have paid any attention to this. What do you call as future of work or workplace of future, etc. If you did a Google search on these words in the month of January or February this year, you would still see an enormous amount of stuff coming out on Google because there has been a lot of work that has been going on in that space for the last several years. It's not new. Of course, that continues and it's going to accelerate as we go forward. There are three things that I'm learning from my clients and basically whatever research that we're doing. So three major things that we see. There are, of course, several subtopics to all of this. Number one for me is the importance of, like I said earlier, the importance of having an office that represents the organization. Every organization stands for something. They need to communicate that to their current and future employees, and an office plays an increasingly important role in that. It's not just about paying 5% or 10% more salary or better bonuses or better employee benefits, etc. It's also about the office space and the office and the distribution and so on and so forth. So office is going to play a very important role. It has been playing over the last 2 years. It will play an even more important role. This second is your office space is going to get personal. Excuse me. By that, what I mean is that people, and we did a survey a couple of years ago and with major occupiers to say what makes a person want to come to office. And the singular largest feedback that we got was because they want to interact with their colleagues. It's the desire for social interaction that brought people to office. Now, so you have to do that, but there are several other things. People wanted the office to be personal. They want it to be appealing to them. It needs to be what they want it to be, whether it's safe. And by the way, Pinny talked of uh, spa or massage in the room. Remember, I'm not sure if any of you remember, in 90s when Steve Jobs set up Apple, all Apple employees got a free massage in the office on every Friday. So it goes that far back, and Apple became and it has been an iconic company. So something like that. If someone wants a massage, again, it's a probably a crude example, but they should be able to get it. If they want a soft-boiled egg for 3 meals, like Prince Charles, they should be able to get it. If they want to feel safe in their office, if they want to feel like what a 26 AQI air feels like, they should be able to get it, and so on and so forth. So Office is going to become more personal. It needs to appeal to the person who's coming in. The third thing is tech. Now, once again, I don't want to say the same thing again, but technology is going to play a very important lead role in how offices are going to be built and operate. The challenge over there is part of it what Dinesh covered and Vinny spoke about it as well, is how the industry transforms. It needs to be technology. I think the innovation has happened for the most part, but the adoption and the idiot proofing of that technology, that needs to happen. It needs to become accessible. It needs to become easy to use. You don't need to become a rocket science to use technology. It should become intuitive and easy to use. The governments will have to play a role. I mean, biometrics today in India is a no-go area for technology. So how does that work and overlay into all of those things? So these are my three prophecies, if you like, for the
Great.
office.
Thank you, Anurag. I know we have a whole bunch of questions from our participants as well. So Sumit, if you could take those over, please.
Right. Thank you, everyone. It was a very insightful panel. We have a couple of questions. The first one is, do you think technology adoption is slow in real estate sector? What is your experience or what are the hesitations? I think Dinesh, that's for you.
Yeah, so I completely agree. It used to be slow. Today it's reaching 100%. Because at the end of the day, there has to be a purpose for technology. When people were just coming back and, they were using it for some interesting things, it was a very different world. Today you decide your day basically leveraging on tech, right? You make yourself safe and your environment safe, leveraging on tech, right? Companies save money leveraging on tech. So it's a complete paradigm shift moving forward. I love what Anurag said. Try to make it as idiot proof as possible. It has to be in line with if you were using Facebook or any one of these apps which you use on an everyday basis. It has to be as simple and easy as that.
Right. So the next question is for Anupama. It's around design empathy is an upcoming trend which focuses on the workforce, emotional and physical needs. How significant is this trend according to you?
Design empathy in the current pandemic situation?
Yeah. So maybe, when people come back to work, the new version of design.
Yeah, so I think there is large scale acceptance of the fact that there has to be a significant transformation of the workspace, and we've all talked about that, right? So the office cannot remain your traditional square box space where you come in to plug in your 9 to 5 and you go home. So I think certainly that entity of the workspace, the understanding and the expectation from the workspace has undergone and is currently also undergoing significant transformation. The expectations are changing, right? So we've all talked about how the user expectation from the workspace is also undergoing a significant change. So definitely, I think as designers, we have to have a very strong feel for that and understanding for that and empathy for the end user, and make the space that much more agile, flexible, interesting, engaging, so add multiple different dimensions to the workspace to not only draw the talent, but then also engage the talent and keep them engaged in that workspace. Yeah, so I think there is the trend is there and it has to be addressed meaningfully.
Great. Thanks, Anupa. So next question is for Pinny. It's around what are the different technological possibilities which can transform real estate altogether? So that's interesting and very generic, if I may say.
Yeah, I think again, to take the cue from Anupama, we've spoken a lot about it. I just one more point I'll add is since now we've got so used to the virtual world, the BIM technology for building and how we can monitor from far away from the site, look at, our progress. I think in the construction, in our real estate, that would be great. We don't necessarily have to go to the site and check what's happening. I think that's trending well. I mean, and as Dinesh alluded, that prices will change. Some of these technologies have been there for a while, but they've been so exorbitant that it's been hard to use by everybody. I think that will change. And I think just for a normal person, they just want all the information with a swipe on their phone. They don't even want to open their laptops or they don't even want to open their monitors. They want every information that they need or they want to ask on the swipe. So I think that has to get integrated into our day-to-day, functionalities of our workspace. And we've spoken about how they need to choose their spaces and things like that. So technology is going to be ruling. I don't know if you all heard Satya's statement that it's the time for Asia and the technology tech world is going to emerge in the next, this decade is going to be for the tech developers and engineers in Asia. So let's look forward to it and let's see how it comes out. I think it'll become very simple and easy. And I think even the street vendor now is using Paytm and all those devices. So it seems to get simpler.
Right. So there is an extension to this, and as an occupier, you can give your perspective. A yes or a no will also be okay. That there are a lot of COVID-19 safety apps there, and similarly, many design changes have been made at the workplace to ensure safety. Do employees feel a sense of safety to return to work with these changes incorporated as of today?
Yeah, maybe I'll take that. So if nobody is, let me tell you, if you don't have that in place, people feel very, very uncomfortable. They actually feel that you're not taking this seriously, right?
Okay. Yep.
And it could be white collar worker, blue collar worker. It does not matter. You cannot leave any stone unturned. And the worst is when you let somebody come in who's not been pre-screened, has COVID, and spreads it around. And that's why these become very critical. So.
Yes. This is an interesting question on Facebook. I think Anurag, you can take it. What does workplace design mean to you in a virtual/remote working environment? So I think, how does your work from home workplace looks like? And are you focused on the design of your work from home workplace?
Yeah, look, it's I don't. I mean, like I think Anupama Pinny had said earlier that we've had home offices and so on and so forth, and we did. Building a home. We always created a work area in the office, etc. But I don't think any one of us had thought as much in detail about it as we are doing now, or experiencing or living it right now. So it's learning by example, by going through it. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that's coming over to you, saying you should have designed this better, this doesn't work, this should have been done a different way, etc. So yes, very clearly there are lessons in abundance in designing workplace at home, and I think that will become a big trend. It's a very interesting question. I also suspect that the home office, as if I can call that, will become an important trend when people are building office homes, etc. When developers are building buildings, they may, you had condominiums which provide, common club facilities, etc., etc. How cool will it be if you have a condominium and you have a co-working space over there with a co-working operator running it nicely? So if those 2 days in a week that you need to work from home and there are a couple of important calls, you go down to your home office in the condominium and do it from there. Or if you have the ability, you create a very nice office, home office in your apartment or in your home with great acoustics, a great connectivity, right furniture, etc. I think all of those things will become an important trend.
Great. Thank you, Anurag. So that's it from my side. Over to you, Amit, for your closing remarks.
Sure. So Anurag, the funny thing that happened was I did exactly those things at home, and then my daughter took it over. So so I have to come back to work, right? So, but guys, it's been a fantastic last 60 minutes with each of you. I have obviously personally learned a lot, and hope the participants have as well. From massages to spas to personal space and technology taking over. So thank you all for making this a success, and a panel for sharing your views candidly. While the future is still uncertain, the future vision of post-COVID workplace is actually taking shape as we speak. So let's liberate ourselves from the paradigms of the old and create environments that are low touch, high tech, experientially driven spaces that will become the new main stage of the modern workforce. So stay safe and stay happy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
Amit.
you.
Thanks so much. Bye.